Like, I'm also old enough to remember they said this is only a couple months ago, and you know
You're
this.
old enough to
They
remember
told us,
February?
yeah, in March and April and May, and I remember how it was a relentless hammering into our heads that if you were a small business owner or if you were a person who was unemployed and the unemployment rates hit what, like 40, 45 million? I don't even know what the number is anymore. That if you were out in the streets protesting for your right to provide for your family, that you just wanted haircuts and that you wanted granny to die and that you would be taken to jail. They went on the cameras in Chicago. That mayor went on camera and said, "We will take you to jail." They were very firm about it. Okay. And then what happened? Then these leftist Marxist protests started, and now they're suddenly like, oh, these protests are fine. They even got health experts to release a statement saying, we encourage these protests. These protests are good for your health because they're a social justice issue. You should go out. And you can look at the news coverage. We've posted these before. The screenshots from NPR, NBC News, some of them within 2 hours of each other, they run a headline saying, Trump is intending on continuing his campaign trail and he's going to have lots of people at his rallies in this deadly coronavirus panic. Right after that, 2 hours later, headline, it was a beautiful scene with the protesters all singing together. And it's a picture of like thousands of people and they're celebrating it. Without any shame, they're putting these things up back to back and telling us this is not okay, but this is okay. How can you look at that? And I've shared those screenshots with the people who are still on this Trump derangement syndrome train, the people who I think are watching a completely fake movie. I'm like, look at this headline. How can you dispute this? Why do you like being lied to? It's not about Trump. It doesn't matter who it is. The media. The politicians, they're lying to you. They have no respect for you. And they use the word gaslighting in the incorrect way all of the time. This is gaslighting. This is when your media tries to make you feel like you're crazy because you're looking at these things that are so oppositional that they're saying this is okay and this is not. And you're being told to believe, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Everything's cool, guys. Our narrative is that Trump fucked everything up. And I'm sorry for the language, and that he's been wrong from the beginning and everything is his fault. Yeah. And that protests are okay if they're for social justice, but they're not okay if it's about feeding your kids.
Right. Well, the virus can tell whether you're very upset about George Floyd or whether you need to eat. And obviously one is more important.
Yeah. Can you just on the end of this rant, can you put up 3 of the, I know I'm taking over, but I just okay. Last little bullet point.
You got a rant going on.
I sent you 3 images. Well, this is where my head was at this morning because I just had a complete, I don't understand how people can be so blind. It's like from a psychological perspective, I think it's probably fascinating. You could study this, how people could be so committed to a false narrative that they will literally look at these headlines in black and white, staring you in the face that they're lying to you and still say, that's irrelevant or that's not the real story, or I just don't get it. So I sent you 3 screenshots. This is something Tim Pool posted, or I think it was 4 screenshots. Now,
here's
this is
here's
again,
one.
It's the same thing.
I can show. Yeah. Can you see this one, Carrie?
Mm-hmm. He says the game was rigged from the start, and then he shows us 3 headlines. So one of the headlines basically says
it's hard to read, actually, but
yeah, you have to. They're all kind of cut off a little bit. But basically, this one, okay.
Here, I can go back to that one. Sorry, there you go. Which one do you want?
Any of them.
Okay. Well, start with this one.
Can you read it?
No, but I think it says COVID-19 contact something about George Floyd, something despite something.
Oh, do you have the individual screenshot of that one that I sent you?
Oh, was that?
Yeah. Let's start there. So,
okay.
Read that one. New York City reports no protest-related upticks in COVID-19. So here's the media telling us that, hey, guess what? We were right. The virus is smart and it knows what you're protesting about.
This is on the 24th.
And
yep. Okay.
Yeah. So it says there were no protest-related upticks in COVID-19. Now look at this other headline. Now this is after the protests against the shutdown. The lockdown protests may have spread the virus widely, cell phone data suggests.
Right.
Now, what's the missing thing here? Look at this third headline.
Do we have? Hold on. Let me see if we got the third headline. Oh, the third headline was the first one, basically, that I didn't get. Hold
Yeah.
on. Yeah, hold on for a sec. Sorry, guys.
This one is New York City COVID-19 contact tracers are not asking about George Floyd protest participation, despite fears of a new virus wave. So this was before, this was from June 14th. So June 14th, we find out they're not actually even asking. They are excluding the leftist protests from what they're asking people about where they've been from contact tracing. And then lo and behold, 10 days later, they say, hey, guess what? The leftist protests had nothing to do with the new spike. Yeah, because you didn't ask about if they went to a leftist protest.
Well, that's how you do news nowadays, Carrie.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I like you said, you have to be blind if you don't see what's happening. And so there are some people who are so far gone down that ridiculous path, like in the George Orwell's 1984, which we read in book club. If you guys are new to our channel, the way that the media and the government just kept putting out conflicting statements. One day we're at war with Oceania. The next day they're like, we've never been at war with Oceania. Right. Next day, we've always been at war with Oceania.
Yeah. Right.
It's always East Asia we've been at war with. That's exactly what's happening. And so if you ask yourself, how can some of these people look at facts right in the face and not see what's happening? They've been conditioned. They've been conditioned and primed and programmed to believe this crap. And you know what keeps them believing it? It's some kind of it's an emotional hatred of Trump. That's what they're using right now. I mean in another time
is emotional. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is, I think it's a psychological, they're stuck in some kind of psychological trauma or some kind of loop where they're re-traumatizing themselves or whatever. Like they're in this psychological state. It's not a question of IQ. It's just a question of pandering to one's own psychology without being willing to turn your microscope inward and examine yourself and your own motivations and your own fears and all that kind of stuff. So it's easy to just orange man bad stuff.